Hello everybody, today I'm going to be sharing my LSAT journey with you, and I will be discussing how I improved from getting a 137 on my diagnostic exam, which ranks me at the 8th percentile, to getting a 164 on my second LSAT, which is ranked on the 90th percentile for that particular exam. And I will be going over a few points so then you can get to understand my LSAT journey a little bit better. I spent at least 2 summer breaks just doing the LSAT, and I spent 1 winter break just kind of doing it but kind of just chilling. For like 2 to 3 semesters, I also did some LSAT in between breaks just to keep my sense of time up, just to make sure that I can retain my knowledge, and did a little bit of bi-type drills. Very, very important to have a good strategy and to realize that even though doing an internship or a fellowship with a judge or anything like that would significantly help you later on in law school, if your strategy is prioritizing your ability to get a scholarship and your ability to get into your dream school, I think it's most important to get a high LSAT score and a high GPA. I personally mostly used prep tests. I actually photocopied them so I can do them again and again, and I personally have done all 80 practice exams, which take 3 hours each, at least 2 times. For a lot of them, I actually did them 3 times, so you're looking at around 700 hours of extremely intense work. I was very exhausted during the semesters that I was also working on the LSAT, to a point that sometimes during lecture I wasn't able to focus because I just poured so much effort into the LSAT, and it does take energy away from other aspects of your life if you're also in school, which is why I highly, highly recommend using your free time to do it, like summer vacations and stuff like that. For games, it's really important to realize that a lot of those games share very similar templates, and if you know how to do one, you know how to do all of them in the same game category. So it's important to stick with one way of targeting these games. You can make up your own after looking at multiple sources of how to do them, but initially I think it's best if you just go with a source like the Bible or Manhattan Prep or 7 Sage or Velocity. It's important to come up with a concise system that you personally are comfortable with, and for me, the system I like most is 7 Sage. Because 7 Sage comes in video formats, I was able to do a lot of prep tests, and then in between those prep tests I will watch those videos from 7 Sage or Velocity. It was really relaxing to be watching someone else do the problems instead of reading on how to do the problems myself, which would just be a lot more draining for me personally, but that's just my approach. You need to figure out your approach as well. I think the perfect way to target the LSAT if you don't know anything about it is to first of all watch some videos on the basic logic and how to do it. And for the logic reasoning portion, you need to understand the very fundamentals of logic and how to think and how to choose the right answer and how the exam works and stuff like that. And once you finish like a video course, or you finish reading a guiding book like the Bible or Manhattan, you can move on to the second stage, which is to do bi-type practices, so you can drill on specific areas. Once you learn your general test taking tips, you're ready to take a diagnostic test from which you can derive what are your weakest areas, and then you can drill on these weakest areas using the Cambridge bi-type. And then once you are done practicing your weakest areas and making them stronger, you're able to start the full-on test prep, where you target prep tests every day or 3 days a week, or go at any speed that you like. But it is important to realize that until you finish targeting your weakest areas, it is not that helpful to just start doing full prep tests. I wasted a lot of my time just doing full-on prep tests way too early in my study, and it's important to learn the knowledge first and then target your weak area and then start the prep test. So the order here is very important. It's directly related to how efficient you are and how much time you need to put in terms of the same amount of progress. Once you start studying for the LSAT, it is exactly like bodybuilding in a way that you have to cater your whole life around it. It has to be the very, very center of your attention, and you have to realize this is the most important thing you're doing in your life now. And I made a lot of lifestyle decisions based on my goal of wanting to do well on the LSAT. Throughout my whole undergrad career, I almost didn't drink at all. I didn't party for the most part. I slept 8 hours, and I make sure I get plenty of cardio. I also did a lot of weights so I can make sure I can be in my best shape when it comes to the physical demands of doing the LSAT. It is a very, very physically draining exam. Your body needs to be as strong as your mind needs to get to for the exam. I always make sure that I eat right because you need a very sustainable amount of energy, and I basically just got a Qdoba bowl or Chipotle bowl in the morning with a lot of brown rice, a lot of beans, and a lot of protein, so then it can last me all day in a way that I would just have like 7 or 8 little meals instead of just one big meal. So then I don't have to spend so much time just like digesting. Also make sure that you eat the type of food that's high in fiber, high in protein, a little bit lower in carbs, and definitely low in sugar, because you want to avoid sugar rush as much as possible and you want to avoid sugar crash. And also I cut caffeine out of my life, and I didn't drink because I didn't want to get hangovers. I also didn't want to feel too excited from coffee or feel too tired after that initial excitement from coffee is over. You need to realize that it's important for you to have supportive energy all around you. A lot of people get really competitive the second you start trying to improve yourself. It's very, very important to cut out the type of people who would become self-conscious to a point of sabotaging your life and your progress. So I would just say have a very clean social circle. You don't need to have that many people in your social network, but make sure that people that are there, they love you unconditionally. They love you even if you succeed. They love you if you get a 170. They also will love you if you get a 150. Make sure that those people will just be there regardless, and those people actually want you to succeed. Once you start doing the LSAT, you need to be in your most alert state of mind at all times, which means that you need to stay logical. The books that you read about logic reasoning needs to sink into your brain, and that needs to become the fundamental fabric of how you think. It is important to not watch stuff that will mess with your logic. For example, certain sitcoms or reality TV shows, be as far from those things as possible. If you feel like they're starting to get to you, they're starting to affect your logic, because let's be real, a lot of reality TV shows, they don't make logical sense. Now I'm done with the LSAT, I will like watch clips of it once in a while just for fun. But when I was doing my LSAT prep, I would cut out everything that would hinder my logic learning progression. I want to talk about the emotional implications of taking this exam. I personally experienced a lot of negative effects from being very intensely prepping for this exam, including a lot of panic attacks. I had sleep problems. Before I went to sleep, sometimes I would like have sudden panic attacks, and I also lost a lot of hair, which grew back, thankfully. And also, test prep could get quite lonely even if I prepped a lot of it with people, and it gets so repetitive. And to that, I just want to say, make sure that LSAT is something you enjoy doing, and this path of law is something that you really want to pursue. For whatever reason that suits you. It could be for the social prestige, it could be for the money, it could be for you love law, you love knowledge, you want the physical challenge, no, you want the mental challenge. Whatever it is, make sure you have a reason to keep you going, because you're going to constantly question yourself and your motives. Like, why did I do this to myself? When you ask yourself those questions, you better have an answer for yourself so you can get yourself through the difficult nights of studying and studying again. You love yourself unconditionally no matter what test score you get, because being a lawyer might be very important to you, but it's most important to be your own best friend. And if you don't love yourself enough and you beat yourself up every time you get a bad score, you will never get to a point that you have a good score, because you will just be so depressed in the process of test prep that you will just never get there. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up and let me know how I did. Have a wonderful day. I would have never done that during the LSAT, or that, or that.